Looking at the current state of the Philippine society, we can see that our health and welfare are deteriorating as a result of the problems caused by poverty, a lack of education, and misappropriation of funds. The worst part is that it's a part of our culture to push down these sorts of things until they get worse. We believe that in order to live a fulfilled life, we must first attend to the issues that cause people to not live their lives healthily. Hence, our chosen advocacy is looking after the general social welfare and health of our society, especially children, as they will continue what has been taught to them. Through a search within the scope of our advocacy ideals, we found a non-governmental organization that shares the same beliefs: Youth Federation for World Peace. They share the idea that we must strive to make our health better in order to make sound citizens who can ensure that our future is on track to become healthier and brighter. If you took some time to look around the country right now, outside or online, it would not be hard to ask yourself, what exactly is happening? People will tell you to calm down since these things happen every day. Yes, instant communication and social media had made learning about events far easier than before, but it had also put to light many things that previously lacked any coverage. Today we will discuss some of the issues regarding our advocacy. It's no surprise to anyone that the healthcare in the Philippines is inaccessible to most. After all, it is estimated that around 18.1% of all Filipinos in the nation fall within the poverty line. That translates to roughly 19.99 million people. Whereas poverty is defined as not being able to fulfill one's food and life needs, the subsistence line refers to being able to feed oneself and pretty much nothing more. This only tells us that the healthcare isn't something everyone can get. But why? According to the DOH, the nation has a complex health financial system. Well, what does that mean? Healthcare gets its funding from many different sources, but the only thing one should be aware of is out of all the sources of money out there, you make up most of this financial pie. Those in public hospitals resort more to paying out of their own pockets for service. Also, many of our health professionals are fleeing the country for better pastures. The pay doesn't quite justify the labor. That's their word, not mine.
Shoot them dead. And this what is the human rights idiots at...
Everyone remembers the cruelty of the Duterte drug war. Nearly 12,000 dead in a brutal fight against shabu, cannabis, and ecstasy. One little detail, however, caught a lot of attention. Most of the victims were poor. These were peddlers, lackeys, users, and abusers. Where were the producers? Where were the masterminds? And what did social welfare and humanitarian committees have to say about this? Boy, they were pissed. Pants-soiled pissed. The Human Rights Watch, for example, did not like the extrajudicial killings and the methods of which they went about to achieve it, saying, President Duterte has frequently characterized his war on drugs as targeting drug lords and drug pushers. However, in all but one of the cases investigated by Human Rights Watch, the victims of drug-related killings by the police or unidentified gunmen were poor. The exception was a middle-class victim who appears to have been killed as a result of mistaken identity. And many were suspected drug users, not dealers at all. Almost all of the victims were either unemployed or work menial jobs, including as rickshaw drivers or porters, and live in slum neighborhoods or informal settlements. If violence isn't the problem, then what? What drives these people to use and sell drugs? Is it a social issue that needs to be addressed from the roots rather than pruning its rotten boughs? What drives the marginalized poor to take up illegal affairs? Well, in a document published on the Annals of Global Health.org by Simbulan and Alia, many individuals and entities stated that the problem of drugs was deeply social and psychological and should be addressed in such a manner. Some people don't like kids. Many do. Regardless of what you think, everyone agrees that children must be protected. This does not only include protection against sexual and physical abuse, but also securing proper resources and opportunities that would accompany their growth in the future. This, in reality, is sadly not that fulfilled across the nation. Many people will tell you how hard distance learning has been for them, especially if you're impoverished. You likely won't have much to spare to constantly pay for mobile data or have the time to teach things to your child with modules that people have reported to be unclear and sometimes downright vague. Child abuse is also rampant. According to UNICEF, 80% of Filipino children have experienced some form of violence at home, in school, in their community, and online. These are often committed by people they trust, despite the high incidence in violence. So, what can we do? While there are many things you could do right here and right now, these unfortunately takes not only a long time, but societal reformation to do. You likely won't do much alone, but you can, as students and citizens, spread awareness about such issues and pressure those in power to do so much better.
Social welfare has always been a recurring problem in our country. These programs that are geared in helping assist families in need has somewhat always seemed to lack resources and funds. An example of it is the drug war. So many people lost their loved ones in the heat of the hellish brawl between the drug dealers or manufacturers, and the government never gave an effort to pacify the war or give support to the innocent families affected by it. Another example is the children's lack of education. Until now, a significant number of children are unable to attend school because of the lack of proper public schools and the tools that come with it. And also, the issue of street kids that are forced to wander outside to beg or sell things to other people just so they could afford to eat or feed their family back home. And lastly, healthcare. Healthcare isn't accessible to the general public, which makes it somehow useless. The actual people who need it more are unable to make use of it because it costs a lot of money and the overall process is so taxing and difficult, which it shouldn't be in the first place. We have realized that the government sometimes purposely does the bare minimum for the sake of their own selfish agenda, and that most of the time, a lot of people tend to be tone deaf about the country's issues. When things are happening, we are mostly clueless about it, unless we put an effort to actually go online and watch the news. We are so occupied with our own lives that we fail to grasp how much of a hard time other people might be going through, or realize how much of a big change we can actually make if we simply just listened. And that in reality, there's so much more we can do to help turn things around. It doesn't necessarily have to be something huge. A small act of kindness always goes a long way. In situations like these, we realize the importance of being vocal about the country's issues, especially online. Keeping the online public aware of what is currently happening increases the possibility of more people helping and also educates them on what should be done and what shouldn't. In this digital age, almost 90% of the world's population are online, so it's imperative to spread the message. And so, for our advocacy, we chose to create a video that we will upload onto social media platforms, along with digital arts, poems, and posters. In this video, we discussed the country's current issues, focusing on social welfare, health, and children.